You think? Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the channel. We are here to talk Horizon and American Saga. Take two. We had a video out there in the wild that had a ton of audio issues. So if you joined us for that one, first of all, apologies. Second, thank you for coming back to hear our conversation about this very long, Stephen, and at times very good, but not always, movie. Welcome. Yeah. And what are your thoughts on just high level thoughts on Horizon?
Yeah, I went in expecting very not good. I expected to be bored and miserable through the entire day because it also was a certain
entire day is a nice way of putting it too, because it kind of is.
So I was worried. But then I found myself like enjoying it through most of the movie, and I felt immersed in the world, which was the frontier, back in the 50s. Or no, it was probably like more like the 1870s. It was the Civil War, so
60s, yeah.
60s. And so I came out of it and the bar was low, so it's really hard to fully decide where I land here, or it was hard. But yeah, I mostly enjoyed my time. I was fully immersed in it.
How long into the movie did it take for you to realize, like, hey, I don't hate this?
Like
I'm actually sort of enjoying it.
Hour and 15 minutes. It was about that time, and I was like, do I like this movie? Like, holy moly! Like, I did not expect that on the I found myself almost kind of not wanting to be over, and we still had like 2 hours left when that happened. But it didn't feel like a 3-hour movie.
Yeah.
And that is a lot to be said for it, I think.
I think for you as well, because you don't like long movies in general.
It depends. There's been a few that I've loved. Dune 2, Oppenheimer, the Lord of the Rings movies, for instance, like the extendeds. But yeah, sometimes it's like, I don't want to sit in a movie theater for 3 hours. Like, that's it. Because it's not actually 3 hours. We've learned that you go to the movies, you 35 minutes of trailers and ads before. And so the time just rises. I've learned to instead just show up 20 minutes later than the posted time. It depends which movie theater, of course. Some movie theaters are better than others at this. But yeah, I found myself enjoying my 3 hours with the cast of characters here in Westernville.
Well, I saw a description of this after our first attempt at recording, but before this one, that described Horizon as Dune Part 1 for your grandpa. And I'm like, kind of, yeah, that's pretty much what this is. It has some of the pacing issues of Dune Part 1, where it's like there's a lot of table setting happening to set up what happens next. The problem is, and we'll get to it in a second, we don't know how much of a payoff on that we're actually going to get at this point. So, just to set the stage here for what you're going to get with Horizon American Saga, the movie opens in 1859 in the San Pedro Valley, where Horizon, the town, will be built on a riverbed. And it is at that point, like, you see the flyers for Horizon a few times, but Horizon's still just a bunch of like empty land that's being surveyed. One person tries to settle it with their child, and they are killed by some of the Apache. And that's one of the story, threads that sort of unfolds over the next 3 hours. There are many others too. Go ahead.
There's basically one big storyline and one medium storyline and one smaller storyline here in this movie. I don't know what the exact percentage of time spent with each, but the biggest storyline is this Horizon, this dream, this town that doesn't exist, that people are traveling to. We see flyers throughout the movie in the different storylines. In fact, one of the storylines is the wagon train on the way to Horizon. But I would say the major storyline here was there was a small settlement of a reasonably diverse for 1860 cast of people settling here, and they put up a dance hall as long as a bunch of tents. There is even a cabin built, so they've been there for at least a reasonable amount of time. But then the Apache attack again. And this was a brutal, very long assault.
Yeah, I wanted to hit on that. And first of all, like, this movie's violent. Like,
yes,
extremely so. So know that going in, especially if you're planning on taking kids to it. It is, yeah, maybe don't. Yeah. But there you will see scalpings on screen. You'll see violent death. You'll see those types of things happening. And it's not just in one sequence, it's kind of throughout at different times. So yeah. Stephen, like a lot of the sequences, but that one in particular were really long. Did that like, was that a negative for you, or did you not mind? What'd you think?
I felt like the Kevin Costner was trying to get us to feel a certain way, but I'm not quite sure if that part landed. You're used to a lot of movies, right? When there's something like this happening, that the assault's over in screen time very quickly. And this is not it. You are feeling the brutal nature of this attack, kind of the way the pioneers were feeling it, as multiple of them were killed. And some in a very slow, like, oh, this is the end, and it's not fun. Frances Kittredge, played by Sienna Miller, and Elizabeth Kittredge end up surviving this attack, and it kind of kicks off like the other half of the storyline. There's a couple other survivors, but yeah, it is a brutal fight. I can't think of a lot of other, besides some war movies, feeling this.
Yeah. And I feel like a lot of these types of movies, Stephen, have these types of sequences shot with a lot of quick cuts and a lot of action. And it's good guy, bad guy, and that type of thing. And I think Costner was very intentionally trying to get away from that here. I think he was trying to have this more long and drawn out. So you're spending actual time with these characters so you feel something for them or about them. And to varying degrees of success, in my opinion. But I do think that was the aim, because like one of the concerns I had going into Horizon was how we were going to handle the idea of American settlers, the westward push, with the, Native Americans who were living on that land at the time. And like, how was that going to be approached in a 2024 movie about this? And because we've seen how it's been portrayed in the past, and it's not great. Yeah. At least not through 2024 lenses, right? But I think, I don't want to say he did like an admirable job, like top marks for you, Kevin Costner, but I do think the effort was there to at least present this as much more complicated than Good Guys, Bad Guys.
Yeah, I think it's definitely not the Cowboys and Indians of the like John Wayne era movie, where the natives are 100% depicted as like savages, and the Cowboys are the good guys. And it's not that, but it's not the best depiction either. I think it kind of still pulls a bunch of tribes of Native Americans. And I don't even think, I'm not an expert on Native Americans in California or in the United States. I'm a little bit better with California natives. But I don't even think the Apache were technically like one specific tribe. I think there were like tribes, there were subsections of Apache. And so it wasn't the best depiction, but it could have been way worse. I don't want to say that that's that means
and that's what I'm
Kevin
saying.
Costner, but
Exactly. We're not doing gold stars, Steven, but I do think there was effort to tell the story and actually try to explain like why this tribe or at least a part of the tribe felt that they wanted to push these settlers off this land because the the food that they hunt, the animals that they hunt for food, were migrating to a different place now and into other tribes' territory, and it was starting like territorial, squabbles and fighting and wars with other tribes just because these settlers by planting their flag here have now made the food supply of this tribe disappear essentially.
yeah.
And so it's not just like you're on our land, screw you, we're going to kill you, right? There is a reason behind it. I think we also get into a little bit of, looking at the settlers as not all, pure and heroic and freedom and all of that, like we do in a lot of other movies like this, because we see scenes where it's like, you're going to go out hunting Apache, but you're not going to find them. You're going to realize that these other tribes look just like Apache, these other people that are paying, right? And you're just going to kill them. And it's this, you start to get into the idea that people, the settlers saw these tribes as all the same, so to speak, right? So it was maybe an effort at depicting the settlers as not ideal either. I don't know. But it's a complicated issue, and at least I feel like it was attempted to be treated as complicated.
Yeah, I would say I definitely felt like they did a better job of showing that not all settlers were these heroic individuals that previous movies have shown. We could have the argument of whether they should have done a better job, and probably. But we're going to focus on what it is right now, I think, and it's okay on that front.
I can tell you what wasn't okay, Steven, and that's the box office performance of this movie.
Yes.
Having to re-record, we have the benefit now of seeing those numbers, and this movie is currently there's no way around it, Steven. This is a flop. I mean,
huge flop.
And a huge one. Yeah, and this movie's the budget for Chapter 1. This movie is $100 million, and it did $11 million on opening weekend.
Yeah, and the problem is, like, you're not even looking at good global box office, right? Because why would anyone in the global market really care, I guess?
Why would anybody in China want to go watch this movie, honestly?
So
and the Chinese market is huge for global box office. So
this has to do well in America. And is this saying that, like, older people don't go see movies? This is not a movie where I think the young ones are going to enjoy it.
I went.
And I mean 18 to 30.
Yep, I went on the first day, and I was probably the youngest person in the theater.
Yeah, I wasn't because there were a few like dads with their like 14-year-old sons, 14 to 16-year-old maybe, and it was there was a specific market or audience of this movie, but. Maybe it should be doing a little better. I don't know. It's really hard. This one is so tough.
I think, you look at it, though, and they're counting on, I mean, let's not mince words. They're counting on the Yellowstone audience to go to the theater and see this movie.
Yeah.
That's exactly what he's counting on. And the Yellowstone audience does the best. They get their best numbers in the older age groups in the Midwest. And those people generally, though that demographic of combination of age group and location, generally don't rush out to the theater on opening day. So it might have a little bit more legs to it, but word of mouth eventually just catches on. And A, this movie wasn't getting reviewed very well. And now B, got crushed in the box office. So
it's sitting at a 45% critic score, but a 72% audience score. And that's 1,000 ratings. So there's a lot of people that don't hate this movie.
Yeah.
Um, I let's move away. I mean, as a Western movie, it is absolutely gorgeous. It is a gorgeous, like the vistas, the locations, the sets. Whether we're in the San Pedro Valley, which is like Arizona, New Mexico, which was one of the bigger storylines, or in Montana, like Wyoming, which was another storyline, or along the trail, like it looked beautiful. It
It's
really,
gorgeous. Yeah.
I can't think of a movie that has immersed me in the world as much as this one has. I felt like I was living or a part of it, and that's why it helped me enjoy it a little bit more than I thought I would. And there were some storylines that were interesting. I mean, most of them were. I didn't find one of them to be all that boring. Even when the Kittredge family, so Francis and Elizabeth, they like get rescued and go to the cavalry base, and then she gets into this relationship with Sam Worthington, who is a lieutenant, and we also get Sergeant Major. Oh, I can't see the act. Thomas Riordan, played by Michael Rooker. And that was
he came out with quite a rant too the other day about why this movie isn't doing well. Yeah, he basically blamed TikTok and those damn kids.
I like that storyline though. It seemed like it could be boring, but it just felt it was interesting. And watching her, Elizabeth, form a relationship with these two soldiers, and then they're getting sent off to the Civil War. Like that was a little bit compelling and touching, and it was a good storyline. It was more interesting than it could have been. Like it could have very easily been the boringest part of the movie, and it wasn't.
Do you feel like, Stephen, part of the problem with this in some people's eyes? Because I actually like this movie. I don't. It's not like great, but it's good. But do you feel like some of the part of the problem for some people is that there are like 4 storylines going on here, 3 to 4. But when we leave the theater, we're not exactly still sure why we're following any of these people. And I think that's maybe part of the issue.
Yeah, I don't have an issue with that, like saying, why am I following them? Well, just watching their stories play out. And I found myself caring about a lot of these characters because I just found them interesting. I mean, obviously the Kittredges went through some shit. And so you're kind of wanting to see what happened there. You know, the Civil War, so it's easy to look at them, the soldiers, and wonder what that's going to happen. The storyline we haven't even touched on, the Kevin Costner storyline. So that he doesn't show up till an hour into the movie. And he runs into this, or he's in this small town or a mining town in Montana, I think it is. And he comes across this character, Marigold, who sells herself to make ends meet, and she's with her sister friend, another lady, Ellen Harvey, who had shown up at the beginning of the movie for like 5 seconds in what was the most weirdly placed story part in the whole movie, and then we went away from it and never and then we jumped 2 years later.
We didn't come back to it for an hour. Yeah, it was like, it was weird.
But their storyline was interesting, mixed with the Sykes family. Very much gave Red Dead Redemption to me. I was very interested in them. I love Junior Sykes. I found him just so intriguing as he is this outlaw basically, but he has like standards to him. So it's not just violent criminal.
Is the code. Yeah.
Yes. And he was that bit was interesting. So I didn't find myself at the end hating any time with it. I found myself being confused on which character is which, and I didn't know any of their names. And I feel like it didn't help,
This,
Tyler, that
if
we're
you,
also in the middle of House of the Dragon, which has 7,000 Rhaenyras and Rhaenas and Rhaegons and Aegons and Aemons
and yeah.
yeah.
The even in the last episodes, even the character named Aaron is spelled Aero. I'm like, really? Can't we just like they all have to look exactly the same? But anyway, if you saw the trailer for this movie and you see like at the end where they just like go boom, 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 name after name after name, top to bottom on the screen of actors that are in this movie, like they're not kidding. There is a giant cast in this film, and it is a little hard to keep up with not who is who, but just remembering names. Like that part is difficult for somebody like me that just has like I don't remember people's names right off the bat immediately anyway. This was a challenge, like remembering who is who, and not gonna lie, we have the cheat sheet open. I've got the cast list.
Oh yeah, me too.
Here in front of me because it is a monstrous cast. So, and some of these people are like recognizable enough names that you'll know them from a lot of other things, and they're in the movie for like 5-10 minutes.
Yep.
So, but story-wise, like there is no comprehensive story, Steven. There's a bunch of different threads going on that I assume will converge, whether it's in chapter 2 or 3, whenever, if there is a chapter 3, we'll talk about that. But right now they're all sort of heading the same direction.
Yeah.
And I assume that this story is going to bring them all to Horizon at the end of the day. When do you feel like that's going to happen?
It's tough to say whether it happens in 2 or 3. I feel like 2 ends up with them starting to build the town. And 3, there's more coming, and then 4 is like what the town looks like. Again, assuming we get episodes 3 and 4, or chapters 3 and 4. Would this have worked better as a TV show?
I was going to ask. So I feel like he's trying to take a mini series and elevate it to a cinematic saga, and I don't feel like it always gets there. I feel like especially the length of some of the sequences, Steven, like really lend itself more to like a miniseries format, in my opinion. I feel like it might work better as that. And I guess let me lead to this question. We know chapter 2 is August 18th, I think. It's sometime in the middle of August.
August 16th.
16th? Okay. We know that this movie, chapter 1, is coming to digital on the 15th of July. So it is not long. I mean, you don't have to wait very long to see it. But do you feel, I've heard rumblings that it is possible that chapters 3 and 4, if they get made, would go to streaming. Would you rather have that, or would you prefer to see these on the screen?
I kind of want to see them on the screen. It was a movie that like worked really well in theaters. I don't know if I get the same immersion at home.
I'm kind of with you. I would say get these things out of the summer. Like, these don't need to be summer releases. And I think that's part of it. I don't think people are in the mindset to go to a 3-hour just, total drama in the middle of the summer. I think that works better at other times of the year. In fact, Steven, this strikes me as more of a Christmas time type movie, the big, that comes out Christmas Day or something. I could see that. But he got really ambitious here, and kudos to him for it. Like, he invested a lot of money. The number that keeps getting floated is 38, but I keep seeing where he sort of kind of admitted that it was really more like 50 million of his own money into just getting these first couple made. He's shot some scenes of 3, but he has gone on record saying he needs more funding to get chapter 3 made. So I don't know.
I don't think it's going to happen then. I I'm actually surprised this wasn't released as a streaming movie with like limited theatrical release.
Who has Yellowstone, Steven?
Well, it's on Peacock.
Okay. So I feel like Peacock should come back and be like, you know what? We'll fund your movie, but your character, whatever your character's name is, you're going to come back from the dead on Yellowstone, and you're going to be in however many other seasons we have, and do that. But we'll fund your other two. Make it happen. I mean, and the thing is too, like you said, it's such beautiful like vistas and everything in the shot and the way it's filmed. You can't do that on set. Like you have to be out on location doing these things. So, it's not a cheap production. So I hope it gets done. I actually kind of enjoyed the first one. I think you did as well.
Yeah, weirdly.
So let's put a score on this thing. Get out of here. What did we settle on last time?
I want to say a 7.
I think that's where we were. And I know that feels like a bit of a cop out. But I feel like it's the right score. Like it's not a perfect movie. There are definitely warts in this thing. And one of them is that, Steven, I feel like this could have been 30 minutes shorter and actually benefited from that in some ways. But
maybe.
At the same time, when it was done after 3 hours, I was like, oh, it's done already. So there's that. Good performances for the most part and a really good cast. And it is a beautiful movie. So 7 out of 10. Just be ready to sit down for a while. Hit the bathroom before you sit down and press play or go into the theater. You're going to be there a minute.
Not that there's not times you can easily just go to the restroom. There are some slow. This isn't Avengers Endgame where it's like action for most of the movie.
Yeah. Before we go, Steven, quick question for you. Because we're also reviewing House of the Dragon, right? And so would you rather have lived in Westeros in the time of House of the Dragon or in the West during this time in Horizon?
Can I be in California during the gold rush?
Nope. You got to be like in where Horizon is.
Well, then I think Westeros. I feel like that's so tough. Where in Westeros?
I don't know.
Can I be in the north in the time of House of the Dragon? I feel like the north is relatively safe at that point.
Safe. Who are you like claiming? Are you declaring for Rhaenyra or?
Oh, duh.
Okay.
And that's why I want to be far away from King's Landing.
Okay. Fair. Yeah, I don't know what I'd pick. I mean, the West, the American West gets so romanticized, but it just doesn't look fun.
Both of those would be terrible places to live.
So, something to think on. Let us know in the comments which one you would prefer. And let us know in comments, have you seen Horizon or are planning to? What was your favorite part of the movie? And are you looking forward to Chapter 2, which is coming very, very soon, middle of August.
I weirdly am. Me
too. I'm not surprised, Stephen, by the box office, but I am saddened by it a little bit. I hope it.
Well, now that I'm invested, that I spent 3 hours with the characters and probably another 3 hours more. Like, if it doesn't get made, that'll be sucky.
It's gonna be the worst. I know. Yeah. So, all right. Thanks everybody for joining us. Really appreciate it. Again, Horizon: An American Saga. Chapter 1 is a 7. It's out on digital on July 15th, and part 2 coming in theaters August 16th. So check it out and make sure you subscribe to our channel for more on movies, gaming, and everything else. Thanks for joining us, everybody. Have a great day.
Goodbye.